The cross-examination of former Bosasa COO Angelo Agrizzi and former employee Frans Foster at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry has been postponed. Agrizzi was to be cross-examined by former Armscor CEO Kevin Wakeford's lawyers. In January, Agrizzi told the Commission that Wakeford had received a 100,000 monthly payment from Bosasa for allegedly fixing a SARS problem for the entity. Wakeford was placed on special leave following the allegation. His term as Armscor CEO ended in April. On Monday, the Commission granted Wakeford leave to cross-examine Agrizzi and Foster. Agrizzi's lawyers asked for a postponement this morning, claiming that some documents needed for the cross-examination were not available to them. They said the documents, which included Bosasa records, were currently under the control of curators. The cross-examination of former Bosasa COO Angelo Agrizzi and former employee Frans Foster at the State Capture Commission. Okay, so now we're going to speak to my colleague Manqoba Mchunu, who's been covering this story. Thanks very much for joining us, as always. So what's the latest and why the postponement?
Well, Nompu, of course, you'll remember that, Agrizzi had made serious allegations against Wakeford with regards to him having received 100,000 rand bribe monthly from Bosasa. And of course, he says this was for some consultancy work that he had done for Bosasa, saying that, he had helped at the time to fix a SARS problem. So those are very damning allegations, and of course it led to Kevin Wakeford being placed on special leave in January at Armscor, and of course subsequently he left his job in April when his contract expired. So he wants to really clear his air with regard, clear the air with regards to these allegations, and to clear his name with regards to these allegations. But of course, Angelo Agrizzi is saying that at this time they're not ready to continue with the evidence. He says, of course, there are some documents, important documents, including Bosasa documents, that are still being held by two curators, he says, and those documents are not available to him. Of course, he might need these documents to refer to them to maybe point a trail of evidence or to answer to those questions by a Wakeford that will be placed to him. So yes, he says at the time those documents are still not with him, and so he believes that he should be given time to access those documents. We do know that the matter is still under the court, the Supreme Court of Appeal. So he says at this time he's not ready. In fact, he says also the lawyer that represented him here today was not the initial lawyer that had come with him at the State Capture Commission. So he also needs more time to also get his lawyers and also all of his basically his answers in order.
So where to next?
Well, what's expected to happen, of course, the Commission chair did express the fact that, he thought that when he made this ruling on Monday, the order that, of course, Wakeford can cross-examine Agrizzi, that all parties were ready and that all parties would be there. But, of course, saying that, the Commission wants to do things fairly, and also that it wants to really delve into the issues and not just sort of like, just look, in depth at the issue. So yes, the Commission chair is saying that he will allow this so that the parties are ready to talk on the issue. I think evidence leader Paul Pretorius is also saying that we need to go into this detail. We need to be seen to be fair on going on to these matters. So they've asked for a postponement up until December, possibly. So they've asked for 3 days to hear the matter. And what's expected to happen, we expect Kevin Wakeford to press those questions to Agrizzi, and of course vice versa, Agrizzi again also to cross-examine Kevin Wakeford with regards to some of the issues.
One last thing, Manqoba, in terms of the proceedings, are they on track with time? Is the Justice worried that they're going to overshoot the time that they've been given to do this?
Well, Nombi, you'll recall that already they have indicated that they might need an extension. The Commission has indicated when I think the Commission Chair, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, was interviewed here at the SABC. He did allude to the fact that they might be approaching the High Court soon, to ask for another 6 months extension. So there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of implicated people that, have not indicated whether they plan to cross-examine, that haven't indicated whether they want to give oral evidence. So there's still a lot of work that still needs to be done with regards to this. And of course, a postponement like this one is unfortunate because it wastes the little time that the Commission has. And so I mean, he's postponed it, and I think for the next 2 days it won't be sitting because there are no witnesses that will be there. The likelihood is that we are going to go back next week, Wednesday, and of course it's time that the commission really needs. But they are hoping, if at all they don't get to the bottom of the evidence in time, to ask for an extension. We've seen other commissions going for several years, more than what the Zondo Commission had said, and yes. I think the Chief Justice himself saying that why are people complaining about this commission? It's only been it's only been a year, but there are commissions that have lasted for 5 years, for 3 years. So why are people complaining about this commission? Can you support this commission and leave it alone?
Manqoba, thank you very much for your insights there. Nzinga?